Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy Monday. We're back at it and made $114 today. My losses today were actually all, except for one of them, they were all just the result of testing. Otherwise, I did make money today. And yeah, super excited to kind of keep moving forward. My video I posted on Friday got a surprising amount of views. I think just because it was maybe a little clickbaity saying I blew my account. I didn't blow my account, but I will just be showing day to day from here on what my P&L is. So for new people joining the journey, been trading for I want to say like 6 7 months now. Stuck to one strategy, but there's a problem in the strategy, and that's uncapped risk. And through all of my trading, I've seen that even with the uncapped risk, it is profitable. But the problem is what happened on Friday. So with uncapped risk, there's this insane amount of exposure that you can have early on as it continues squeezing up. So I spent the weekend trying to gauge the best way for me to prevent that from happening again. And I've noticed a couple things, but what I will do first is I'll talk through my trades for today and I'll talk through the adjustments I make and then sort of visually what my strategy is going to look like from here on. So we'll start with KLTO. So pre-market these trades here, this 0.89 and then this 0.96 were tests. I was just testing to see if it was working or not. So I covered those for loss. I think it was like $100 something loss here because what I saw that what I saw was pre-market. We haven't like I can't set out orders like stop orders pre-market. So I have to do that manually. Now, I could still take those trades, but I have to stick to the plan and I have to sort of have levels on my chart for the given point of where I have to get out. But there's the problem of it squeezing up really fast and I don't get out. So I'm still thinking of the best way to go about this. Because I don't know why, for some reason, DAS won't let me. DAS doesn't let you send stop orders pre-market and after hours. So we'll figure that out. We'll figure out a workaround. I think I'm just gonna stick to hardcore stops and take profits, even though the orders don't execute. I could visually see them on the chart and then just press the button to get out when I need to get out. So yeah, if we take these as like scratch trades, the true trade I took was this one, and I had a 1 ATR profit target and a 4 ATR stop loss for this. What I'm doing is since I typically have 3 entries where they end up profitable, I am being as patient as I can on the first and then having a quick take profit and a large stop loss. And then if this continues grinding up, I try and add with a tighter risk and add with an even tighter risk. Um, and then I have a max of 3 entries. And then the max I can lose on the specific trade is no more than 2% of my account. Once I lose that amount on one stock, I don't trade it, or I'll wait until there is some form of potential reversal or whatever, and then get back in. So took the short here. 1 ATR below was right here, and my profit was hit. Then it climbed back up again here. I took the short. My it was my first entry again, so I had a 4 ATR stop, a 1 ATR take profit, and it hit my profit. So ignoring these scratch trades, that's 2 for 2. Next we had GNS. GNS, same thing. This one was climbing up. It broke pre-market. I was being very patient, kind of watching when the indecision was happening. Took the short here, cover here for 1 ATR. Same thing in this candle. Took the short, same candle, 1 ATR. And 4 ATRs was somewhere up here. Moving to JDHG. This one happened quick. So it's one of the faults in this strategy. So typically I would hold this, I'm not getting out early, but this is like how I'm trying to go about my strategy, right? So the good thing about all of these situations today is I was very patient on the entries, and I definitely could have risked more and had a deeper TP, but I didn't, and that's fine. And I'll sort of segue into the what I've noticed in my trading. But this one was a win as well. Just a quick one, quick little scalp for the overextension. You never know how high they can go. So that's why I took the profits quick, and we'll see how this ends up going. So I'll move on to $114 on the day. Decent day. I didn't take any more than one entry on a given play, so super good. And this is how we'll move forward, right? I don't want to be overexposed early. And I'll explain the reasoning why I was so overexposed early. Yeah, I mean, trading comes down to risk management, right? It doesn't matter what your take profit is, as long as you're managing your risk well. If you know the areas, and I feel like I do know the areas where a stock can reverse, it's all about keeping adequate exposure. The big fault in my strategy wasn't necessarily that the stock can grind up and take forever to reverse. It's the fact that I would keep using the same exposure on each of my entries when the risk would get astronomically higher. So it's super, super bad to do that. So let me explain a little bit. Let's say that the ATR, actually, I'm gonna actually draw this on my iPad, so we'll cut to that. Okay, cool. So let's talk this through. Now, let's say what causes me to be interested in a stock. It'll have to be spiking up, right? So let's say this is like the stock price. Once it's spiking like up like this, if there's no overhead resistance that I'm interested in, if like that doesn't exist, I might take a starter position at this point. Whenever I see on the level 2 that there's some resistance showing. In this situation, since there's no overhead resistance and I'm playing a level 2 reversal, that's the reasoning why I have such a wide stop. So, let's say at this point I'm short. The distance to my stop is going to be 4 ATRs. The distance to my take profit is 1 ATR. And this is what my first entry will always be, because I'm playing a short-term reversal. Ideally, I'm capturing this whole move down, so I may adjust this take profit to say like 50% of my position or 25%, and then look to hold the rest underneath. And then target here as my when I scale out completely. So this situation is going to be entry 1. And this I have to scale in very slowly. Then entry 2 is going to be double top. So typically I get into these when I miss this entry. So this is where I would have liked to entered. We had the pullback, and then I take my entry here. So in these situations, I'm risking 3 ATRs to make 2 ATRs. The reasoning for this is, since we're coming up again and it's hyperbolic, I'm anticipating that this resistance will result in it trading lower. I don't know if this is the best yet. As I'm saying it out loud, um, it might not be, but I think in terms of risk management, it's the best way to go about it. I might scratch this into one ATR. I might do something a little differently. I don't know. But I do think that this is okay. Idea being, a lot of the time, my second and third entries are better than my first, especially with this setup. So then we have our third scenario. Third scenario, which I think is the best entry, but doesn't pop up that frequently, is we have a resistance level, we pull back, and then we exceed that resistance level. And then this is showing divergence, or the breakout doesn't have volume, or the stock is showing resistance above the previous resistance level. In this situation, I have a 1-2-1. 2 ATR, oops, ATR, both ways. And for all of these, it's the same situation. I mean, I would ideally like to have to scale out of my position. But I do think that in all these situations, it should work out overall. Now, in reviewing my trades today, you might have seen that a lot of them had these two situations where it was a double top or um, playing above the previous resistance, taking the short there. And I did entry one anyway because it was my first entry. I may switch to doing this and doing this in those situations, but I'm not sure yet. I have to kind of go back and review my trades and see in these situations, like in the situation where we are breaking out of previous resistance, or we are approaching previous resistance, how often I'm adding more than 3 times. If I notice that typically these are like one entry and done, I will just automatically take on size in those setups. But if I notice that there's still times where I may have to like average into the position, I'll stick to entry, like doing it based on how many times I've entered the stock already. So we'll see how this goes. But the issue I was running in, and this is like, I don't know how I oversaw this, is so say we have this big green candle up, strong candle, and the ATR for this candle is, let's say, 0.15. Let's say I take my short here with exposure of 0.15. And before, what I was doing is like $750 of exposure. So however many shares that may be. And I'm looking for this to collapse to the downside when I take my entry at this point. What I would do is once stock reached 2 ATRs above my entry price, I would add. But it would be for the same, if not more. So, say after this candle, so we had that candle. I'm just going to draw it again. Actually, let me do this. So we have this 0.15 ATR candle. What if the next candle, I have my entry of $750 exposure here. The next candle, we have this situation. And I add 2 ATRs above. So here. The problem in this is this sets a new ATR of, say, like, let's say 45 cents. And I'm taking on so much more risk with this entry at this point. So this is like what's caused me to have these crazy losses is I'm entering with the same exposure when the risk is so much higher. So I made a share calculator um, where if we take this as like an example, with my new strategy, in order to manage risk effectively, even if I want to take the entry here, what I would have is say 250 shares with this ATR. And then entry 2, let's say I'm watching ATR and I'm doing it two ATRs above the high that's set here as my next entry. And then the new ATR is 0.45. Then I would be 148 shares here. So I don't know, like obviously price isn't a factor in this situation. Um, but depending on how much the stock price goes up, let's say it doesn't go up a crazy amount, or let's say it does. Sometimes I think I'm entering these situations where this might be too high or this might be too high given the ATR. Okay, so the best way to illustrate this is by reviewing a trade. So, let's just for simplicity use the 1 minute, even though I might not always use the 1 minute, but let's just take this as an example. And so this will show the pitfalls. So I have my share calculator to the side here. And let's just review these entries. So I took my first entry at 1.41. Now the risk here is going to be 4 times ATR because this is my first entry. If we look at like our strategies here, it would fall into this kind of strategy, but let's just for simplicity, it was my first entry, so I took it here. Profit target is 15 cents below 1.41, and stop loss is going to be 45 cents above 1.41. So 45 cents above now, okay? And then that's my stop loss, 141. This would have been my take profit, 141. What would have been 6126, I think. Yeah. This is my profit. 26. Okay. Then my second entry I took at 1.7. So doing math, right? That's 2 ATRs above my first entry price. Okay, so let's remove these because I would have gotten stopped out of the first entry. So now we have this as my as one of my entries, and then for this one, it is 3 ATRs above. But at this point, look at the ATR. It's 0.2. So let's look at what share sizes I should have taken. For 0.15 first entry, I should have went in with 250 shares. I went in with 431 shares. Actually more, 531 shares. Then with 0.2 ATR, entry 2 should have been 333 shares. And I went in with 591. Then you'll see I have another entry here. So this is that, situation. We have the pullback, right? Strategy 2. We have that pullback. And then if I added like at the double top, it would have been strategy 2, but I played the breakout above. So this one would have been this last one here. So 2 ATRs, obviously targeting the rest of the move. Um, and at 1873 with this ATR of 0.18, entry 3 would have given me 463 shares. And you'll see on entry 3, it looks like I had 403. Okay. And then you see on entry 3, it reverses. So that's why I was thinking of doing it like this: entry 1, entry 2, entry 3, because if I scale in entry 2 here, then this becomes entry 3, and it probably works out. But then there's this situation, which I guess could also be entry 3. But I don't want to trade something more than 3 times, because if I lose 3 times and hit that max loss, that means I'm not reading it right. And there's something else going on. So that kind of dynamic sizing in, dependent on risk, is going to greatly help me. So if we take this as an example, this 169 entry, this would have hit take profit and I wouldn't have gotten stopped out. 20 cents, 2020, that's 60 cents above 169. 17, let's say that would have been 2.3 as my stop price, with 40 cents being my target. Um, so it would have been 129 as my target. And you'll see, it looks like right here we got that target. Ends up going lower too. So would have gotten stopped out of the first entry for a $150 loss. The second would have been a $133 gain, and then the third would have been a $166 gain. And that's what I'm aiming for, is scaling up into the higher probability situations and having better risk to reward for those, playing short-term scalps on my first entry because it can break out. So I hope that helps explain everything. This is definitely a longer video, but those were the adjustments I made to my strategy. And hopefully that helps me manage my risk better. Hopefully that leads to more wins overall. But I think I will keep it at this entry 1, entry 2, entry 3, where even though this is like typically my entry 1, I just want to, I may try and target situations like these as my first entry regardless, even though these are labeled entry 2 and 3. If I don't get filled here, I'm still going to be taking trades with these other 2 setups. I just might push my take profit to be 2 ATRs instead of just 1. Because you saw today in the trades I took how that worked out. So thanks for watching. Appreciate everyone sticking along for the ride. And yeah, have a good day.